once took a solo hike on a section of the Appalachian Trail in Virginia. It was early November. The leaves were mostly gone, and the air had that sharp, biting cold that made every breath visible. The woods were silent, except for the occasional snap of a branch under my boots. I loved the solitude, but there was always this nagging feeling that the silence wasn't natural, that the forest itself was holding its breath. After a couple of hours, I stopped near a ridge overlooking a narrow valley. The view was incredible, but while I was standing there, I heard something faint drift up through the trees. At first, I thought it was the wind, but then I realized it sounded like humming. A woman's voice, soft, steady, almost like a lullaby. I stood perfectly still, trying to place where it was coming from, but the sound seemed to float all around me. The strange thing was, I hadn't seen another person all day. No hikers, no campers, no one. Against my better judgment, I followed the faint humming down the trail, deeper into the trees. The further I went, the more wrong it felt. The humming never got closer. It just stayed at the same distance, luring me along. Finally, I turned a corner and froze. Across the trail, just beyond a patch of bare trees, I saw her. A woman standing there in a thin white dress, barefoot on the frozen ground. She wasn't moving, wasn't even breathing, just staring straight ahead with this empty look on her face. I called out, asking if she needed help, but she didn't react. The moment I stepped forward, she tilted her head slightly, like she'd heard me, and then in an instant, she was gone. Not walked away, not ran, just gone. The humming stopped, dead silence. And then, from behind me, I heard it again. The same lullaby, only closer. My chest tightened as I spun around, but there was nothing there. Only the endless trees. That was all I needed. I turned and pushed myself as fast as I could back up the trail, not daring to look over my shoulder. The whole way back, I had the terrible sense that I was being followed, that if I slowed down, I'd see her walking just a few feet behind me. When I finally broke out of the trees and saw the trailhead, it felt like I'd escaped something I wasn't supposed to encounter. To this day, I don't know what I experienced out there. All I know is the Appalachian Trail is beautiful, but sometimes it feels like it hides things that don't want to be found. There's a massive nature preserve not far from where I live. By day, it's full of joggers, families, and people walking their dogs. But at night, it becomes completely deserted. I usually avoid it after dark, but one summer evening, I decided to go for a late walk to clear my head. The air was warm, the sky cloudless, and the only light came from my phone's flashlight. The deeper I went into the trail, the quieter it became. At first, I only heard crickets and the crunch of dirt beneath my shoes. But then I started noticing other sounds. Soft snapping of branches, the faint rustle of leaves, and what I swore were footsteps keeping pace with me. Every time I stopped to listen, the woods went silent. I told myself it was probably an animal, but something about the rhythm of those steps felt deliberate. Eventually, I reached a wooden footbridge that stretched across a shallow creek. I paused there, listening, when I saw movement on the other side of the bridge. A tall figure was standing just off the trail, partially hidden by the trees. I raised my flashlight, and for a second, it looked like they were wearing some kind of mask, smooth, featureless, reflecting back the beam of my light. They didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, angled slightly toward me. My chest tightened as I realized I was completely alone in the preserve, with no one around for miles. I backed away slowly, keeping the light on the figure, and that's when it tilted its head in this unnatural way, like it was studying me. Then, without a sound, it stepped behind a tree and vanished. I froze, waiting for it to reappear, but nothing. The woods were silent again, except for the distant trickle of water under the bridge. My instinct screamed at me to leave, so I turned and started running back the way I came. About halfway out, I killed my flashlight, hoping the darkness would hide me. That's when I heard it. The same footsteps, faster this time, closing the gap between us. I sprinted, heart hammering, until the lights of the street came into view. When I finally burst out of the trailhead, I turned back one last time. There was nothing there, only the dark mouth of the preserve. I haven't gone back at night since, and honestly, I'm not sure I ever will.